love The Martian, but like I'm like, if only there was like a girl stuck with him on Mars, like that would have made it so much better.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Charles from the channel Books on Stereo, and I have one of my favorite dark romance, not only dark romance writers, I have the Zaires here today on my channel. If you guys haven't read her books, I think I haven't been raving about her books enough. I love them, I love them, I love them with all my heart. But how are you doing today, Anna?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Charles. I'm very excited to be here.
And I guess the first question I wanted to ask you is, how did you get started with writing romance? Were you always a romance reader?
Define always. Like I came across romance when I was 12. So I guess not my entire life, but close to it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm originally from Russia. My family moved to the United States when I was 11. And before that, in Russia, there wasn't really a lot of romance that I could get my hands on. So I primarily read science fiction, fantasy, some big classics. But I think I always gravitated to like romance, and especially kind of like unusual romance. Like one of my favorite books as we were moving to America when I was like 10, 11, was Gone with the Wind, which is probably too adult for me, but I loved it. Now I know there's many problematic things there, but at the time, I really loved the romance aspect of it. But yeah, when I moved here, I was learning English, and I don't know if you can hear my accent a little bit.
No, I can't.
Really?
When you said Russian, I was like, is this why you have like so many Russian bad guys in your books?
Yeah, it's a case of writing what you know. But yeah, so I moved here when I was 11 with my family, and it took me a little while to learn English, but I started reading in English about 9 months after we moved here. And initially I was reading a lot of the young adult books like R.L. Stine and so on. I was just devouring them. And then I came across Brenda Joyce's Innocence, I think is what the book was called. It was like this historical romance, pretty dark. I think it like starts with a scene where he's like, I forget now, but it was like he's either came across her naked or something, and I was like, whoa, okay, I'm like interested. Mind you, I'm like 12. But yeah, that kind of like started me down the romance path. And while that book was a little bit too like dense for me at the time because my English was still not quite at the level to read historical romance, I discovered Harlequins, and I started reading those. And like those, they're short, they were easy, and honestly I found them even easier to read than like some of the young adult books. And I just like went completely down that rabbit hole of romance. And then I graduated from Harlequins to some of the 80s bodice rippers. And I think I spent pretty much like the second half of my like middle school and high school years just like in my room devouring all these books. And so I guess I've been a romance reader for a while. Writing wise, I didn't really consider it until I was much older. Like I think I had it in the back of my mind that someday I would love to write a story. Like I had all these like stories running around my head. Like sometimes I would almost like see them like a movie as I was falling asleep. Like Mia and Coram, like for instance, they would act out like scenes in my head as I was falling asleep for like decades.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was crazy. But I just thought that, that was whatever, they're just gonna remain my stories, my fantasies. I was very practical. So I went into, I studied economics. I went in to work on Wall Street after graduation. Like nothing, like I didn't know you could really make money writing. Like, I knew there were obviously authors who made a living, but I figured it was about the same odds as winning the lottery. And it wasn't, I needed, being an immigrant, first generation immigrant, like I needed my financial security. I needed to prove myself. I needed to succeed in a new country. So so I went into economics, finance. I spent 8 years working on Wall Street. And then, and all this time I was reading. I was reading romance, I was reading paranormal romance, I was reading historical romance, I was reading contemporary romance, I was reading just about everything. And then I read Twilight and I read 50 Shades and I loved those. And then I started discovering all these great indie authors, and I couldn't get enough. Like, I felt like there weren't enough stories of the kind that I wanted to read. And finally, like one summer in 2012, I was like, I have this story and nobody's telling it, and I'm just like really looking for this story and I can't find it. So I told my husband, I'm like, I have this idea, I like jotted down a few notes, and he was like, yeah, just do it, just write it. I'm like, what? Like I don't I write quarterly overviews. I write equity research reports. Like, that's my job, like I would analyze stocks and recommend people to buy or sell them. Like, I wasn't writing anything like creative, right? But my husband was very supportive. He worked in technology at the time, computer science, like development and all that. So he was like, yeah, try it. I'm like, okay. So I wrote a couple of paragraphs and I showed it to him, and he was like, yeah, this is good. This is good as anything like published. I'm like, really? Okay. And I was like, let me try a little bit more. And I sat down, and I just, the words just poured out of me. Like, I had never been so obsessed with anything in my life. Like, I didn't know what like passion for like a work task meant until that point. Like, I had never been so caught up in anything. Like, I was as caught up in my writing as I had been in reading before. Like, that's all I wanted to do. Like, every free minute I was writing. And 2.5 months later, we published that book. It was Close Liaisons, book 1 of the Mia and Coram trilogy. So that was kind of crazy. I didn't even like write I wrote maybe like one short story in college for like an assignment, but never anything else until then. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was my first book, Close Liaisons, Mia and Coram's story. As I was writing it, I was just like, wow, I think I discovered like my true passion. And then book 2 followed, and then readers followed. And I was like, okay, so this is like an actual thing. And at the time, I was, 8 years into my career on Wall Street, and I was like, I was a VP at Morgan Stanley, and my husband, he was director of iOS development at Hearst Magazine. So, we had our corporate jobs and we had our established careers, but we were both like, this is something new and this is interesting. And then we both quit our jobs and we moved to Florida and just started writing.
I absolutely love that. When I read Mia and Coram, I knew it was one of your earlier books.
Yeah.
Because that was the ones I haven't read, because I started with the Capture Me, Torment Me.
Yeah, it was Twist Me, probably Capture Me, and Tormentor Mine. And those are kind of my most popular books.
And those like wrecked me. And then I read Mia and Coram, and I was messaging my friends. I'm like, this book is causing me so much angst, but I can't stop reading it. Because like, I'm addicted to this couple. Like, it does not read like a debut novel. It feels like you have been writing for years and years and years. And I don't find many romance sci-fi stories with the world actually being built. There's actually lore to the world, and the way that you intertwine the mythology and balance it with the romance. You really don't find that a ton in like the romance space in general. So it's like, I absolutely love what you did with that trilogy. Like, it hurt my heart. Like, the review that I gave was so conflicted, because I was like, I love this, but it caused me so much angst. But I love these 2 characters so much. It was like I never like, it was rare when a book like gets me that much in my feels that I'm like, I want you guys to be together, but then I also want you to date other people, but then I want you guys to be. I'm like, Anna, what are you doing to me?
Aw, thanks.
So where did that story kind of start from? You because you mentioned that it was already in the back of your head, like you already kind of imagine these characters. Did you always intend to write like a full blown sci-fi romance?
No, I don't even know if I like knew what I was. Well, okay, so I've been fascinated by romance forever and ever, and I've also been always fascinated by kind of like science fiction and fantasy and aliens and all of that. I think when I was like I remember being like 4 or 5 and being like reading about like alien abductions and like a newspaper, and I was like, because I'm like, what if it's like, what if the aliens are handsome? Like, what if like I don't know, where did that come from? I was like a kid, you know? I had the most normal childhood imaginable, like nothing crazy, nothing dark. But I was just like always fascinated by that concept of like the juxtaposition of, the unknown and the scary and the romance at the same time. Kind of, I love that.
Yeah, you can tell like just like from the plot twists to the world building, like the stakes just kept on getting higher and higher for these characters. And I was like, Mia, like you know what Corum is going to do. It's like it felt like one of your first kind of like dangerous,
Yeah.
like bad boy type characters. And
Yeah.
just his arc that I appreciated. He did learn to be more considerate, but
Yeah.
didn't necessarily change
Right.
like who he is down to his core DNA,
Yeah.
which I love that. Like it made me go like, okay, Mia, like stop trying to change him. Like you can change him slightly, but he's still gonna be Quorum at the end of the day.
He will. And I just, to me, I feel like that's realistic because ultimately, we would love to believe that like love can completely reform, a bad boy or a bad person or whatever. But the truth of the matter is maybe they learn some better behaviors, maybe they learn not to do certain things, but at the core, people don't really change. People are who they are. And you either learn to live with it, you either learn to accept them for who they are and what they do, or you don't. So like that, I mean, sure, you can kind of learn the error of your ways a little bit, and maybe you don't repeat the exact same things that got you into trouble with your partner before. But if he's a jealous, possessive kind of guy at the core, he's not all of a sudden going to become, like this like sweet, considerate, like, yeah, you sure, you be buddy with this like
You can be
guy
buddy
friend
with this
of
other
yours,
guy.
and like it's all good. Like, no, that's not gonna happen. Like he's gonna be what he is, right?
Yeah, I just love that trilogy with all my heart. I need to read the rest of the Krenar books that you have. I've been saving them because I was like, I don't want that world to be over. But I need to talk about one of my favorite, the probably my favorite. Like, if I recommend your books to anyone, I recommend this series.
Mm-hmm.
I actually started with the Tormentor Mine
Yes.
series first, and I was like, wait, I think I read up to book 2, and then
Uh-huh.
you were like, oh, go read these other. I was like, oh, these other books that connect to it, and
Yes.
I just like binged through them all.
Oh my gosh.
And I was not a huge reader into dark romance at that time, so Tormentor Mine was kind of like, like what is this? Like he like he kills her ex husband and then wants to be with. I was like, okay, this is a little bit dark for me right now. But then once I got into it,
Yeah.
I absolutely adored it. I was like, that series in general is like my gold standard
Oh,
for
thank you.
dark romance, where the hero maybe changes a little bit, doesn't change completely, but it's really the heroine kind of like going through those, like I call it mental gymnastics to figure out that she has this own darkness inside of her.
Yeah.
That's why she is attracted to XYZ guy. And so like where did that series come about from going from Miam to Corum to Mafia Underground, very violent?
Yeah. Good question. I think right around the same time as I was writing Mia and Corin's story, like like I've always loved, the bodice rippers, the darker side of romance, kind of, those 80s very non-PC books that everybody loves to make fun of these days. Like, I think they were the precursors to modern day dark romance. Is just the characters there, they weren't quite as self-aware. So they thought that a lot of what was happening was okay, but men and women kind of thought that. Whereas nowadays in modern dark romance, they're more aware that it's not normal, right? But it's just the way they are. It is for the two of them. But yeah, so as I was reading Neon Quorum, I was also reading some of the early dark romance. Kitty Thomas. I don't know if you've read her. She's comfort food. Yeah. I read, C.J. Roberts. I read, Skye Warren, and I was like, this is great. Like, this is basically like bodice rippers, but like with a lot more psychological depth. And I love that. I love the sort of the complexity, the lack of clear black and white. I love those types of stories, those types of like really flawed characters. They really attracted me. So I started writing Twist Me even before I finished Neon Quorum. It was just like something I was, I was like really drawn to. I'm a very slow writer. I tend, compared to a lot of my peers, like I'm not slow relative to a lot of traditionally published authors who release like one book a year, but I am slow relative to a lot of my indie author peers, because a lot of them can write a book in like a month or two, and it takes me like 6 to 8 months to finish a story usually. My very first trilogy, I like blazed through it, but then I just slowed down like crazy. But yeah, anyways, so like the beginning of Twist Me, the first like 20,000 words, like just I wrote like almost in like a week, like a weekend. Like it was just like the first few chapters I wrote like in a day. Like it was just like, I don't know, I was just like swept away by that story. And I don't know where it came from, but I just wanted to try something different. Not sci-fi, modern day, but with a lot of the same dynamics, but just kind of done differently, I guess. Neon Quorum is ultimately a darker romance as well. It's just
it's pretty dark. It's not dark.
It's not dark.
It has some darkness elements. That's what I was like, okay, I feel that, like, you can tell that Anna wrote this. Like, yes. Quorum has some like huge darkness, like I will kill you in your sleep and like destroy the whole planet just to save you type darkness.
Yes. And it also has certain like dubious consent undertones that even though there's no overt force or anything like that, the undertone is there, and a lot of kind of like non-dark romance readers have picked up on it and have very much like one-starred that series because of it, because I don't think they were like expecting that. They're like, this is such an unhealthy relationship, like this is so wrong, this is like all the things that is like wrong with like romance, and like just like this author is awful, like just like all these things, right? Because they weren't expecting it in sci-fi romance. Now I think a lot of people are a lot more used to all sorts of things in sci-fi and paranormal everywhere. But at the time it was like, oh, this is not like, this is wrong. Like this is like 50 Shades, but like sci-fi, but like wrong. Anyways, but yeah, I wanted to kind of, with Twist Me, I think I was trying to write to be like, okay, you know what? You think this is dark? Let me show you. Like, let me show you how dark it can get. And
was dark.
I just wrote straight up dark, contemporary, like it didn't mask as anything. Like the very beginning of the description reads, kidnapped, taken to a private island, like what you're getting yourself into with that series. I mean, some people are still like shocked, but for the most part, that series actually has a lot fewer one-star reviews for that reason, for the darkness content, because I think people kind of know, like this is what they're entering into. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I don't know. I think my mind is just honestly twisted, and that's why I
I'm
write
fine
this
with
stuff.
that. I'm fine with that. Like I go back and I just think about scenes in that book and the characters. Like I think it was Twist. No, I it was either I think it's Capture Me. It's the Lucas.
Yes, Lucas
Man, oh
story.
my goodness! Like for a story that doesn't take place like a huge amount of space, like they're really confined. I was like, I can't stop reading this, and this is so dark. He basically locks her up in
Yeah,
like a little cabin, and
yeah.
they just go at it. I was like, I love this. I was like, I love your imagination. I was like, I didn't know I needed this until I got through it and I was like, okay, I'm so happy I went back and read Twist Me and Capture Me, both of those trilogies, because I was like, okay, now I see how everything fits together.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness, I love this world so much. Love the characters, and I love how too you have the violence actually on page. A
Hmm.
lot of dark romances tend to say, "Oh, he's a killer." We never see the
Yeah.
hero or heroine actually ever kill anyone. So I love that we get that on the page, and you manage to balance both plot and character and the romance. So like you get like some of those twisty plot elements, but then you also get like a really good romance too in
Thank
the
you.
midst of it.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes with dark romance, they can kind of pick and choose which aspects to focus on, and you're like, wait, what was the plot? And then you get the plot twist cliffhanger ending. You're like, wait, where did that come from? I feel like all your books are like really solid on the plot, and then the romance is just perfection.
Thank you. I have to, I have to give credit to my husband, Dima, for some of the plot, for a lot of the plot, actually. So everything that I write, he helps me plan. He helps me. He's my like alpha reader. He'll help me when I'm stuck. Like I think with like Twist Me, I wrote like a third of the book, and then I'm like, what's the plot here? Like, where am I going? Because I was just so focused on their like dark relationship. I was like, well, what's this? Aside from that, what's going to happen? And so he helped me plan a lot of this. Um, we collaborate on just about everything. So that's yeah. So that's I think you're seeing what you're reading is the product of like two minds, really, and I think that's hugely helpful.
That's amazing. And then also, did you already have the subsequent trilogies and then quartet planned after you did Twist Me, or did those come? Because it all works so well together. I was like, I wonder, like, did you plan it out in the beginning? So
No,
when I went back and read it, I'm like, oh wait, this all kind of like fits so nicely together.
thank you.
I was like, you really do have to read it in order to get the full story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I did try to write them so that each series could be read kind of as its own thing. The last couple of books of Tormentor Mine, the other characters are brought back in, so it does help if you've read but you can still just read that first, or just ignore the other characters. But yeah, like I'm a what is it? A pantser, right? I write by the seat of my pants most of the time, so I don't plan my books out. I I will just like I said, like very often I'll have like a portion of the book written, and then I'm like, okay, what's gonna happen then? Like I don't know. Like I don't even. So very often I will like I don't even know if it's gonna be like a series or a standalone. Like I don't know any of that when I start writing. It's just I let the characters kind of guide the story, and I see what's necessary. And then I'm like, Dima, help! I'm like, I'm stuck. I have no idea where the story is going from here. And, he comes to the rescue.
That is amazing because I feel like even with your Molotov Obsession duet, I think that's one of the first duets that
Yeah.
you have. Because I
Yeah.
know we have the another with Charmaine Paul's a White Knight, White Knot.
Yeah, that's coming. That we're finishing that. But yeah, well, I wrote one other duet before this. It was supposed to be a standalone, Wall Street Titan. It was my venture
I
into
forgot about that one.
like kind of rom-com romance as Anna Zaires. So after writing 10 books basically of the Twist Me world, I was like, okay, I need a break from all the darkness. Like it was getting to be a little too much. As much as I love my dark twisted stories, like I was like a little burned out, you know. It was just too much because I do write slowly, so you know that from you know, Twist Me came out in 2014, but I started writing it like in 2013. So it was like from there until like 2018, I was just working on these stories. Like it was just like years, basically, several years, right? So I needed a change of pace. And so I wrote Wall Street Titan, which was my contemporary, light and funny, was supposed to be a standalone, like romance. But of course, because I don't plan my stories and I just let the characters dictate what's necessary, as I was getting towards, you know, like I was having like pretty much a book length story, I was like, oh, okay, so this is not going to be a standalone because they're nowhere near resolving their issues. So I need this is going to be a duet. So that was my first duet. And then with Molotov Obsession, I think I kind of like knew it was going to be at least 2 books heading in because it did have like kind of greater complexity. Like I think by now I'm 8 years into, you know, right? No, 9 years. 9 years I've been writing now. So yeah, at this point, I kind of am starting to develop a little bit of a sense for, you know, if a story is a certain complexity, it's going to take me longer to resolve. Like my longest story is Tormentor Mind. That's 4 books. And that's because the beginning of it is like makes them so incompatible. You know, it starts when he waterboards her and kills her husband. Like he wasn't even her ex-husband. He was
her husband. Yeah.
So that's the start of the book. And then he comes back. Basically, he becomes obsessed with her and he comes back for her and he like inserts himself into her life. And that's the start of their romance. You know, she's terrified of him. She knows he killed her husband. So it's like to go from there to happily ever after. I was like, how do I make this work? Like, I didn't know if I could make it work. I had no idea at the start of it. I just thought it was a cool challenge. So I just started with, you know, I knew it was probably going to be more than 1 book, but I started 1 book, 2. I was like, okay, it's probably going to be a trilogy. 3. And next thing I know, I'm like at the end of book 3, I'm like, nope, things are still unresolved. Damn it. Like so close, but not quite. So
that poor couple, they go through so much more than the other couples in the series. Like the things that you put her through, I was like, I don't know how Anna's gonna make this work, but like I'm here for it. Because like
I had no idea how I'm gonna make it work, but I was also here for it, and eventually it worked out, I think. I don't know. But yeah, so with Molotov Obsession, it is a duet, but I don't know, like some readers have commented that they thought the ending was a little bit abrupt. And it is because in a way, this duet is going to lead right into the next series featuring Alina. And so, yes, I don't know if it's a series yet. It might be a standalone, but I doubt it. You know, probably a series.
Like, I need more Alina.
Yeah, it might be a series, but yeah. So that's going to lead into that, and then I think the couple from Molotov Obsession is going to show up in it again. So I couldn't give them like, you know, an extended epilogue or anything like that because this portion of the story with Alina is kind of unresolved and hanging over them. So I wanted to. This is a spoiler, by the way, but
it's okay.
But yeah. Yeah, so for people who have read it and they were like, oh, I feel like there should be another book. Well, it's not going to be like Nikolai and Chloe's story is complete, but you will see more of them probably in the future, but just not as the main characters. So that's about all I can say right now.
Because I have like so many characters that I was like, the brothers need romance. Yeah. The son, when he grows up, he needs a romance. Pavlov, I can't remember. I don't think he He's a cook. I was like, does he have a wife?
Oh no, he's got a wife.
I was
He's
gonna say, I think he had a wife, but I was like, I don't quite remember.
he's good. He's good. But yeah, no. Nikolai has two brothers in addition to Alina. So and yeah, I'm already kind of thinking of their stories. They're germinating in the back of my mind. Both really exciting characters that I'm itching to write about. I wish I could like clone myself, so like one of me could be working on, you know, one story while the other one does more. But yeah, it's hard. I think it's probably again going to take me like years to get the full like Molotov sibling world out. And then there's also other stories. You know, I want to write like in Wall Street Titan. There was like a friend and her friend and his friend, and maybe I'll write that like kind of, I will try for a standalone for them because I feel like it should be a very, like, in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to write a novella for them.
And
And
then it could be it'll grow into a standalone.
yes, that's what Dima said I should do. He's like, why don't you aim for like a short story? I'm like, good idea. And then knowing me, it's gonna be like a full length book, and everybody's gonna be happy.
I love that so much. I love your dark romances, but I love the twist that you've been kind of taking and going into more the rom-com direction with Wall Street Titan, and now we have the Misha Bell pen name as well that you collaborate with Dima on. So I know we mentioned before we started recording that Dima was really interested in rom-coms and reading a lot of rom-coms. Has that kind of influenced you guys to like go and create Misha Bell? Because it's a really, when I saw the premise, I was like, what? A rom-com with sex toys? I was like, hold up, what? I was like, is this Anna?
Okay, so full disclosure, the Misha Bell pen name is like 95% Dima and like 5% me. So it's really much more like he does pretty much all the writing there. And what I do is kind of like editing and, you know, maybe like punching up some of the like, you know, like sex scenes, romance aspects, guy descriptions. He's like, you write like him, like you make him drool worthy. You know, like he's like, you know, as a straight guy, he has a little bit of trouble with like describing like mouth-watering abs and all that. But he, you know, yeah. So we started. So yeah, I am a dark romance reader, a dark romance writer. And Dima's been reading, you know, my books, and before, you know, and he was writing at the same time science fiction and fantasy under the pen name Dima Zaires. So, you know, we've been collaborating on all our books in one way or another. So with my books, like he helps me plot, he helps me plan, he gets me out of tight spots, he's my alpha reader, like all of this. And with his books, I act as the editor. I will, you know, do a lot of, and he'll edit my books too, but I do a little bit more like heavy duty editing kind of. I get more in there. So yeah, so he started off writing, you know, science fiction and fantasy, and he's written like 23 books under Dima Zaires. And then you know, I would also kind of do some stuff there, you know, on the romance side of things. But, you know, the entire time, you know, he was kind of slowly developing an interest in romance. And yeah, I know it's very unusual. I think it's obviously I had something to do with it, you know, seeing he's been helping me and all that. But his interest really took off in 2020 when we were having all the craziness. So he started listening to, he's an avid audiobook listener. Like that's how he reads. Like he will not like touch an actual like written book now. He just listens. Yeah, I know you can relate. But yeah, now he listens at like 3.5 speed. Like he just devours books. And yeah, like he got into, you know, some rom-coms at first and then more and more. And, you know, like lately he's just been like devouring rom-coms by like the hundreds, like so many. And you know, that kind of kindled his interest in writing them. And so in the depths of 2020, he was like, I have this funny story. And he's really into humor. Like,
Mhm.
we both love comedy. Like we'll love stand-up comedy, and we love like funny shows and all this kind of just like lighter stuff, even though I write dark. I know it's weird.
Yeah.
I really don't like watching like it's super dark, even though I like reading dark romance. I know it's complicated.
I get you. I get you.
Yeah, but yeah, so he started reading all these rom-coms, listening to them, and he was like, I have this story, and I was like, okay, like let's see. I mean, like, but yeah, like he sat down and he wrote hard code, and I helped him in some parts, but for the most part, it's all him, and that's why we started a new pen name, because the Wall Street Titan is mostly me. He's helped me a little bit with the plot and everything like usual, but Misha Bell is really him. Um, and I don't know, you probably don't realize this, but Misha is short for Mikhail, which is Michael in Russian. So it's actually like a male pen name, but people in America here don't realize this. It sounds female to them, you know?
Oh
Um,
wait, okay. I
yeah,
thought it
it's
was.
funny. So we're not like hiding or anything that, it's primarily like a male romance author, but it is, it is a collaboration because I do contribute, quite a bit, but not as much as you would think. Like a lot of it is him, and he is getting like better and better at the romance with every book. So, so that's the Misha Bell books, and that's why you're going to see actually a lot of Misha Bell books come out, because he's enjoying writing them so much. He has kind of switched his focus from Dima Zaires books to the Misha Bell books. And yeah,
Oh.
at this point, he's like finished like 5 of them. We're a little bit behind on releasing them because I have to edit. I'm finishing his number 4, Royally Tricked, which we just put up for pre-order. It's going to be coming out in October. But then he's already finished book number 5. Femme Fatalish is the title. So we're going to be releasing that probably in January. So really, really behind on our release schedule, but it takes us a little while to. But one thing we try to do is to get the books out in audio at the same time as the ebook. And in order for that to happen, we have to have the releases be like at least a few months later than they would be otherwise, so that we have time to,
Yeah.
line up the narrators, get the books to them, get them recorded, and all of that. So
Oh, that is absolutely amazing because I thought this was like more you like branching off from dark romance. I was like, wait, Anna, like I need you firmly. I need your dark romances. That's was like, well, Wall Street Titan. I bought it and I was like, I think I bought the first book and I saw the box set come out, so I bought that too. And
oh,
but I was like, it's not dark romance, but like
no.
it's Anna. So like I trust her. So like I constantly go through my back and forth. I'm like, but I can always reread Twist Me and Torment Me.
Yeah, no. Wall Street Titan was fun for me to write, and I enjoyed it. But at the same time, it was like as I was writing it, I found myself missing a lot of the like dark action suspense elements of my darker books. So I was, I was considering, just because I was so burned out on the Twist Me universe, I was considering, maybe pivoting a little bit. But all I needed really was a break, and now I'm back to writing kind of dark romance, and at the same time collaborating with Dima on the Misha Bell books, which are just the opposite. I mean,
So
they're
opposite.
all
I read hardcore and I was like, this is like so different than what I'm
it
used to from
is.
Anna. It's like
It is different.
funny, it's quirky. The technology with the sex toys, I was like, this is like next level
Yeah,
rom com stuff.
yeah, yeah. We had so much fun writing that book. Like I had so much fun, editing with Dimas. He was working on it. Like honestly, he started this in August of 2020, and it was just like all the news flow and everything was just like it was like our escape from the world, you know. It was like every day, like our process with the Misha Bell books is, you know, Dima will write like a chapter or something like that, and you know, every afternoon I'll sit down and we'll edit together. We'll go over like what, you know, what's happening next and so on. But yeah, so like every afternoon it was like, oh my god, like this is gonna be my like half hour to like have fun and laugh and like enjoy life, because yeah, he is, my husband has such a like strong sense of humor, often an appropriate sense of humor, and like these books are like the perfect outlet
It
for that,
works so
like
well.
perfect outlet for that. Like they're like a we I haven't really read a lot of rom-coms like that because they're raunchy, but at the same time they're not like erotica by any means. You know, they're kind of more like slow burn. Like there's like one sex scene usually per book, but there's some scenes building up to it. You know, very creative scenes in some cases. But really, like the goal there is to make you laugh and make you feel good and make you kind of like walk away with a big smile on your face. Like that's the goal there. Like we're not trying to put you through the ringer. We're not trying to like show you like these deep, dark, flawed characters that you're gonna obsess about. Like no, like this is like this is your candy, like your moment of like escape from like the everything else. A lot of like we did market the books to my dark readers, right? And a surprising number of them liked them, and they said like it was a great palate cleanser from a lot of the darker stuff that they were reading. And that's kind of the way to, like, I think if you're a dark romance reader, or you know, in general you like kind of your books angsty and all of that, like these are excellent like palate cleansers. Like you're gonna laugh, it's gonna be really easy to read, and then you know they're all standalone, so you're done, and you know you get on with your day. Like,
And I do have to ask you, since you have written so many different genres, not just within the romance, outside the romance genre, are there any genres that you want to like kind of dive into and try your hand at that could be romance related or no romance completely?
oh no, no, you
No.
know, no. To tell you the truth, no. I really like writing specifically romance. I would, you know, I can't rule out potentially writing something a little bit more like thrillery, or, you know, I do have some ideas for like more like paranormal romance or things like that. But yeah, I don't think I love the romance element. Like I've always looked for it in all the stuff I read, even stuff that doesn't really have romance, like The Martian. Like I love The Martian, but like I'm like, if only there was like a girl stuck with him on Mars, like that would have made it so much better. But
I love that. That's how I think too, but like I add like a dark romance filter to everything.
no, but I hear you. That's like, yeah, like I seek dark romance in everything, and I see it in everything, and I'm like, yes, I like I always want the bad guy to kind of win, you know, depending on the bad guy, of course. If they're like annoying or gross, no. But like the classic example of the story of Dracula, right? Like why doesn't she end up with Dracula?
Uh,
Like that's so wrong. Like she should have been with Dracula. You know, it's like the story with Winona Ryder. When I saw that movie, I was like, oh my god, like this is like, why does she want this like, you know, boring fiance, whoever he is, like who's just like, no, it's like Dracula is the exciting
Dracula.
one here. Like, come on, you should win. I think like a lot of the darker stuff kind of before dark romance, like the modern dark romance started, there was a period in the 90s where you had sort of some of the darker themes in paranormal romance. So, like, you had, Amanda Ashley, you had Lara Adrian, you had J.R. Ward, like all these amazing, kind of vampire stories that had some of those elements. And I was like, if only they would punch it up a little more, just a little more. like, why is he always like, oh, I can't control her mind? Like, that would be wrong. I'm like, that would be hard.
Control it.
Come on, like, just do it, just once.
I just imagine your Molotov world. I literally had this thought while reading the duet. I was like, what if you just change them all into vampires and the main heroine's a witch? I was like, that would fit.
That would fit. Yeah, that would fit. That would work. That would be fine. I would like that. That would actually be interesting. Yeah, I mean, Julian could have easily been some kind of like super powerful immortal. I don't know, right? Like, it was me. Like, he could have been, like, he didn't have to be an arms dealer. He could have been, I don't know, powerful wizard or some such.
I'm totally down if you want to rewrite
I don't know.
books with a paranormal edge.
Yeah.
We're just gonna change. They're gonna be vampires. We're gonna change it a little bit. It's gonna be vampire mafia. We'll have a witch mafia. I'll be so down. I'll be down. Like, you don't have to tell me. Just like say like, here's a pre-order link. Pre-order.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, if I do go in that direction, I'll definitely let you know. For now, I have so many contemporary stories to write. Oh my God. But
yeah, we have the whole Molotov family. I'm expecting those books.
The whole Molotov family.
I need Alina's book.
I have another work in progress that is kind of like a little bit more contemporary. Like, so yeah, I have so many stories I want to tell. But yeah, like I said, I tell them slowly. So it's just like, gosh, it might be like 5 years from now that I get to my paranormal idea, which is like only mildly paranormal, not actually vampires or anything. But it does have to do with kind of like mind control and mind powers. And I don't know. It's germinating all the way at the back of my mind. And once it kind of starts getting more invasive and coming to the front, that's when I'm like, okay, I really have to write
it.
Yeah. A ways away, but for now, the Molotovs, and of course, Alex and Kate's story, White Nights. That's coming up in this fall, so very soon, and that is connected to the Molotov world. So,
really,
it is.
I was thinking it's gonna be connected to Darker Than Love, your first.
A good point, but no, it's actually connected to the Molotov world. Like Alex, he's kind of like Alexander Volkov. That's his full name. He is a business connection of Nikolai. So yeah.
Okay.
In fact, there might be a little cameo of Nikolai in White Nights, or actually Midnight Days in book 2. So you'll see that, but that's how they're connected. And ultimately, they may get connected to the Twist Me world as well. But for now, I wanted to keep them separate because I just needed like fresh cast of characters and all of that. Like, I just wanted to really branch out and build out like a different world, and then ultimately it may all intersect. But for now, it's just separate universes.
And I'm more than happy about that, because I definitely feel like those characters had their time to shine. I was like, let the Molotov family now reign. And if you do connect it, I would love that, because then it gives me a reason to go back and read Twist Me, Capture Me, and Torment Me. Just like, give me any excuse to go back to those books. I'm like, oh, they're so, especially like how audio friendly you guys are with bundling the books. It's like, this is amazing. I'm like, more authors need to do this.
Yes.
Like, I will drop that one credit so fast.
Thank you.
And get the whole trilogy, so I can just like 32 hours. I'm like, that's like a day. That's like a day on 3.5.
Yep. I bet.
So we have your upcoming White Nights. We have the next book in from Misha Bell coming up in July. I believe it's Hard Bite is the
Yes.
next one that's coming out. And are there any more new releases that you have planned for the rest of 2021?
Yeah. So other than Hard Bite, we have another Mishabel coming called Royally Tricked. It's already up on pre-order. I don't know if we've announced it yet. I don't think we've announced it yet, but it's already up on pre-order, so you can find the book floating around on Amazon. And that is probably it for 2021. This is actually a super release packed year for me. Like I write somewhere between like one or two books a year normally, as you know. But this time, because I'm collaborating with Charmaine on White Nights and Midnight Days, and because I actually held up the Molotov book one, like I sat on it for almost a year before releasing it, so I could finish book two and have them release like close together. So that's why you're like seeing all these like releases back to back. And then of course, you know, the Misha Bell books, because Dima does most of the writing and I mainly do the editing. So like that's why you're seeing like all these releases from us. Like that's not normal. This is a very release heavy year for us. Otherwise, you would be seeing like one or two books from me and you know like maybe like three or four books from Dima, but that's it.
Okay, I was wondering, I was like, there's so many, I can't keep up.
I can hardly keep up.
It's
Like
super fast. I was
honestly,
like,
like
oh
this
wait,
is
I
a
turn around, I'm like, wait, they already have another. I'm like, wait. I was like, the Molotov duet just finished. I'm like, there's already going to be a new duology.
lot. Yes, thanks to Charmaine. You know, Charmaine is, you know, we're collaborating on that, so that's been, you know, a lot easier to do for than writing everything myself. So, so yeah, Charmaine is phenomenal. I'm so excited for you to read Alex and Kate's story. It's like it's contemporary. It's steamy. You know, it's very steamy. It's well, it's contemporary with a darker edge. So it's like it's it's not quite as dark as My Twist Me World, but it's probably about the same level of darkness as Devil's Lair, I would say, but
Oh,
with a higher steam factor. So for people who found that one to be a little slow burn, like this duet is not a slow burn. So it's you guys will see quite a few smexy times.
my final question, which is a little bit of a hard question. What are some of your favorite romance books that you have read and loved?
Oh my gosh, so many, so many. I'm, you know, gosh, I have probably the authors that I reread the most are Linda Howard and Lisa Kleypas. So those are, yes, I would probably say those are my all-time favorites. Like I have their books in paperbacks, and I will just bring them out and like reread them. Probably some of their books I've read like 20 times, maybe more. Just something about, and it's funny because they're not like dark authors, you know, necessarily. I mean, Linda Howard, she's got, I don't know, have you ever read any of her stuff?
No, I read Lisa Kleypas, but not Linda Howard.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, you are missing out. She's amazing. Like, I would recommend something like Shades of Twilight to start.
Okay.
Like, that is like such good romance. Anyways, but yeah, she writes like these like very alpha males who are I don't know, but also I don't know, something about her writing style and the way she tells the stories like really resonates with me. And same goes for Lisa Kleypas. Again, even though her books aren't like dark,
Mhm.
yeah, Linda Howard has some, especially some of her older books written in the '80s, the good old times, are like I'm like, all right, yes, give me more. But yeah, lately she writes a little bit more like romantic suspense or even like thrillers. But like a lot of her older stuff is like pure romance and with the darker alpha edge. I really like it. Anyways, yeah, I love those authors. I love Charmaine Paul's among you know like the newer authors. So Charmaine Paul's, I love Sky Warren, Pam Godwin, Pepper Winters. Um, I'm probably blanking on a bunch of my favorites right now, but yeah, I read a lot. I'm actually a reader, like with my eyes as opposed to my ears. I know, shocker. I'm sorry, but Dima is the audio listener in the family. I will listen. I've been trying to get into audios, and I got up to like maybe like a 1.5 speed. So
Oh,
baby steps, baby
that's
steps,
like really baby steps.
baby steps. I know, but yeah, I love just reading on my Kindle. Like that's how I read. I've had a Kindle since 2007. Like before, it was like, yeah, it was
Before it was
crazy.
like everyone had a Kindle.
Yeah, before everyone had a Kindle. Like it was my ex boyfriend gave me a Kindle for my birthday, and I was like, "What is this thing? I like my paper books. Like I don't like any of this. Like what? How do you? This is." And the selection at the time was so bad. Like, and the books that would come on the Kindle were so badly formatted. So I was like, this
No,
is,
thank you.
yeah, I don't like this. I don't like this. But then, like, a few months passed, and I was like, I'm too busy to go buy a book. And my favorite author released this book, so let me try it on the Kindle. And for once, it was like well formatted. I was like, oh, okay, okay, okay. I can read here. I can see this. And then next thing you know, I'm reading all my books on the Kindle. Like it's just, yeah, it's
But
so much
thank
stuff.
you so much, Anna, for coming on my channel. It has been so amazing talking with you. For all those watching this video, I'll link all her social media links down below so you can go support the Misha Bell book, so you can go buy Hard Code and pre-order all the books in that series. And I'll also leave links for Anna Zaires' books. I highly recommend that you guys go check out the Twist Me, Capture Me, the Twist Me and Torture Me series. Like, you will absolutely love those. Those are absolutely my favorite. If you want some sci-fi with some high angst but the same level of steam, Mia and Coram would definitely be your best bet. Bye.